Welcome to Look to the Moon podcast, bringing together two friends with stories that need sharing. Join us, Jodie and Nicole, as we navigate life after loss, discussing topics around birth, trauma and baby loss, and providing a safe space for others to share their stories.
But yeah.
So going through your IVF journey,
Yes.
backtracking to that where you go under clinic care,
Yeah.
and you have some tests,
Yeah.
and just fill the listeners in on what your process was in terms of egg harvesting, what that sort of looked like, and
Yeah.
go
so
from there.
For our situation, so with my lack of ovulation, I think it's one of the. Nothing about it's simple, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not simplifying anything, but I think it's one of the more simple regimes from my understanding.
Because you sort of can skip that step in IVF, right? Ovulation?
Well, yeah, it's like
because you've gone through IVF, you don't need to ovulate.
No, exactly.
Basically,
so,
the
IVF,
skip the step,
like the egg collection is your ovulation.
Yeah.
So that step
in theory
is taken out of your control, which is obviously like the magic in it, because that was the problem for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, from my understanding of and experience of people I have spoken to, I think our journey and process of IVF and our treatment plan was like one of the simpler. None of it's simple, but simpler. So we had our initial appointment in the August. We then had sort of tests throughout the next couple of months, and then I started my drug regime, so the stimulation medication, early November, so like the first week of November. So that was like, I remember that being like this massive point, because you have all your appointments and then you pick up your medication, and then it is literally just a case of waiting for your period to come. So I know in other experiences, like, you can then, if you have a really long cycle, you'd be put on like a drug plan to have for your period to be started for you.
Okay.
But we didn't have, like, personally, we didn't have that. So I was just literally waiting for my period to come to start my injections, which was like, I remember we were in IKEA. I remember being in IKEA, and I was like, we're on, we're on, like, tomorrow, because I think it's like you started your period and then day one, so like the next day was the start of your, like, random. We're like literally in IKEA, and I was like, it's happening. It's like the first week of November. So yeah, quite quick, really. We didn't think that it would happen so quickly. From that initial appointment in August, I never thought that by...
And this was getting your body ready for egg harvesting, right?
Yeah, so you have, like, again, mine was 14 days or 12 days. So from day 1 to day 12 was then like injections. So again, everyone's is, I think, and most people's are slightly different depending on what drugs you have. But it was 2 injections that, like, inject into your stomach.
Okay.
And like talking to those people, like, different, it's interesting. I say love, I don't love speaking to other people that have gone through the same thing, like, but I find it really interesting,
intriguing, yeah.
And the way that different people deal with it. So the way that me and Dan sort of dealt with it, prepared for it, I wanted to do the injection physically because it felt like all of these things, like, was out of my control.
This is you
like,
taking
this was my way of taking control of, like, this is happening, and like this is what I can do. But we wanted, obviously, Dan to be involved in it, so he used to prep the vials and the injections, and I used to do the injecting, and that was like,
your
we
routine.
used to properly set it up, like, in our spare room. We, like, cleared off the top of the drawers, and we had it all laid out for, like, the 10 days of taking it. So we did that for 12 days, and and you go for regular scans throughout this period. So you go for scans. I can't believe I've completely forgotten, like, the specific days. I thought these things would be, like, absolutely ingrained. But throughout that 12-day period, we went for 3 scans to check on follicle growth.
Okay.
So they do an ultrasound to check and look how many of your follicles within your ovaries are developing.
Okay.
And they measure them. So in our case, like in my case, I had a lot of follicles. So I think, like looking back on it now, knowing what we know now, my ovulation problem was because I have polycystic ovaries, but not polycystic ovary syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So polycystic ovary syndrome is where you get a lot of the pain. It can be another, like, a more of a factor for infertility. There's loads of different side effects and problems that come with polycystic ovary syndrome. So I don't have this syndrome, but I do have polycystic ovaries, which means that my ovaries have a lot of follicles in them.
Okay.
Sort of in basic terms. So my ovulation problem, we think, is because my body could never make one follicle get to the point of development for an ovulation.
Okay.
So they get to about 17 millimetres at the point of ovulation.
Okay.
That's what size they're monitoring you for throughout your scans. So they're looking to, like, how big your follicles are getting. And if they get to about 17 centimetres, that is the indication that they're going to ovulate. If they don't, it doesn't look like they're going to release an egg.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my ovulation issue from sort of what we think we understand is that my body could never get because there were so many follicles to choose from, it would never develop one to the point of being able to release an egg. We think. Like, it's never been confirmed, because I don't think they well, if they can, they've never done that level of investigation.
Yeah.
But that's like the assumption.
That's the assumption, yeah.
So yeah, we had regular scans throughout these first 12 days, and then you go on your third scan, which I think was on day 10. They basically then tell you when to take your trigger injection, which is, as it says on the tin, like a massive rush of hormones through an injection to release all of your eggs. It's why you have to go do your egg collection, because if you've triggered all these eggs, like if you then I don't know what I'm sure there's people, I don't know if there's anyone that hasn't or whatever, but I can't imagine what would happen if you've triggered all these eggs.
Yeah.
Well,
where do they go?
they need to be collected, don't they?
Yeah.
Never really thought of it like that.
Maybe that's when they do all fall out of you.
You have your trigger injection, and then it's literally like done on the time of what your egg collection is, because they have to collect them obviously before they come out. So before they actually get released, they have to go into the follicle and collect.
So
them.
they actually go into each.
They go into each individual follicle.
Oh,
Yeah, but the follicle has to be like.
And how's this procedure done? Keyhole?
No, internally.
So God, it's just
everything.
Mind blowing.
So all your scans for everything IVF wise. Yes, you have ultrasounds, but most of them are internal ultrasounds, because there's nothing to see.
Yeah.
So if you have anyone that's had a early scan through their pregnancy,
you have to have.
If you have a pre 6 to 7 week scan, I think it is. It's
internal.
Always internal, because before that point they can't see anything.
You're right.
So same thing with your IVF. So every time they're looking at your follicles or your uterus,
crazy what they can do.
Did you watch it on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh my
God. No, for your collection I was sedated.
Oh, of course.
So all the scans to check on your follicles, like
they
literally show literally like
balls,
like literally pockets in your ovary.
That's
crazy.
So you can see them, and like they give you all the charts of all your measurements and like your scan pictures.
It's very clever, isn't it?
It's magic. Like that's what I always say. It's absolute
science
magic. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So they go into each individual follicle and take the eggs.
So they have to. But you literally, I think my trigger injection was at like 10 o'clock, and then
10 a.m, 10 p.m,
10 p.m,
10 p.m,
and not the next day. The day after was where. Oh, is it the next day? I can't remember. Was it the next day? No, it must be the day after. Anyway, it was at like 10 p.m. and my egg collection was at like 12 midday, like the day after. But it is literally like that precise.
Yeah.
Because they've got to then have
it's a window.
come like up. I guess the eggs got to have come into the follicle but not come out.
Not been released.
Yeah, not been released out yet.
Well, because... Right.
Well, if they all came out, like...
And you're the medical one.
Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't do lady part medical stuff.
Oh, but it's completely...
So, because your period, women's periods, not yours personally, but women's periods is post-ovulation, post-egg release.
Yeah.
Then it's shredded.
If your egg then doesn't get fertilised,
it then...
So your progesterone peaks, and then when there's no egg that's implanted, fertilised and implanted, everything then...
So that's why they're coming, like you say, they're coming in at that point before it gets released.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all your leg, like,
will naturally
remove ovulation stage.
Yeah.
So it's like basically at the point that you would ovulate.
Pre-release.
Yeah, at the point that you would be ovulating, you have your. So it's always like around. Well, mine was around day 14 because my cycle isn't. I would never have ovulated on day 14 with my 35, 40 day cycle. But because you've obviously been on the stims from day one, that's why they do it.
So
because
like when you say
they
your
know
trigger,
then
you
it's
have to go in to have it within a specific time. Because otherwise
they would all just release out and be in
collected.
your tubes and everywhere. Every body obviously has different amount of follicles. So I had a high amount of follicles. So they collected 18 eggs from my follicles, which is, I believe, quite high. That was our understanding, that's on the higher side. Mm-hmm. And then they collect the follicles, so they do it through sedation. So I always like it. I might as well have been under general, like not for the recovery afterwards, but I have no recollection. I was heavily sedated, don't remember a thing about the actual having them collected.
The procedure,
but obviously then you don't have the recovery from a general, so you literally go home like 2 hours later. Yeah. And just was a bit sleepy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, completely like don't feel a thing. I might as well have been under general, that's how I explain it. And then at that point, like at the same day, like your partner does his sample, and then as soon as they've collected them, the eggs, they then fertilise them with your husband's fresh sample.
Okay.
You can't say spoon.
It's a naughty word.
It's naughty word.
Yeah,
that's the process of an egg collection. Well, that was the process of our egg collection, but I think the egg collection process is the same for everyone.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Right?
So
Yeah, so they would fertilise your eggs.
Like immediately. Yeah, they go straight to the lab and they're like fertilised immediately.
So then what was the process for you?
So then it's like a 5-day monitoring process.
Yeah, they see if they mature, don't they?
Yeah, so you then get like basically an update like every day pretty much, or every 2 days to say
see if like they've survived.
They're on this day, these how many have sort of dropped and these have gone to this stage, and then on day 5 we got like a report of this is what's going in the freezer basically.
And they like grade them, don't they?
Yeah. So out of my 18 eggs we had 13 that fertilised, and then 11 that were at a grade to freeze.
Okay.
So they only freeze certain grades because if they're not of a certain grade, they
won't survive.
Their chances of they might do, but they don't.
Yeah, they want to give you the best.
They don't freeze any that they think haven't got a good chance of being. So yeah, the grading system is like 1 to 5 and A to C. Mm-hmm. So a 5A is like a peak. Mm-hmm. A peak.
It's like a golden egg.
A peak embryo, I suppose.
Pun intended.
Or blastocyst that they are at that stage.
Yeah.
So it's like pre-embryo.
Yeah.
And then it grades down to it's 5AA.
Yeah.
Because the AA, so the 2 letters are. One for the nucleus and one for the cell. So like the outside and the inside.
Yeah.
God, it's taking me back to biology.
I know. So like that's why they have like 2
lesson,
letters, because one of them might have like a weaker inner bit, but the outside structure is really strong.
Yeah.
I hope I am saying all this right.
Sounds great.
Sounds
There's people
scientific enough
listening
to
thinking
you.
like, no, that's not it at all. Or,
Oh,
so
wow.
I apologise if I have got any of this
Yeah,
wrong.
well, that was your understanding.
This was our
so-
understanding, yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean, which is what they try and like really try and sort of hit home with, that if you've got a 5AA, that might have a better chance of implanting successfully, but
It's not guaranteed.
not guaranteed.
Well, none of it's guaranteed.
And you could have a 3BB or a 3BC that does a better job than your 5AA.
Yeah.
Like it's just their grading system.
Yeah.
So I think they try and tell you that so that if you basically end up with a load of 3CCs,
Yeah, that there's still chance.
that you don't get too disheartened.
Yeah.
But they are like, and like all jokes aside, like well, there's no joking aside, but the clinics are really sort of blunt with you about your success rates. There is
I think they've
no,
got to manage your
they've got
expectations.
to.
They can't make promises.
Like there's
that
no
they can't
frills
keep.
and thrills and like sugarcoating any of it.
Yeah.
They are real, and I think that's what some people struggle with when they first go in, because it is like it is a huge thing. Like obviously starting your IVF treatment feels really positive, and I think a lot of people do come away from that first appointment quite disheartened, because you do sit down with them and they just blatantly go through your chance basically figures. So
They give you the harsh reality.
yeah, they do an AMH test, which is the first blood test that we had. Well, I had. Sorry, it's just obviously a female thing again.
Yeah.
But it's your egg reserve. So they take a blood test, which I think blows my mind how they can take a blood test and know
tell you about
how many eggs you've got.
how many or what it's scored. It's not like 30, and that means you've got 30 eggs, but like it's scored. So I think ours was 30, which is like as good as it gets on your AMH reserve. But it doesn't mean I've got 30 eggs.
Yeah, that's the great.
It's just like a scoring system. And then it's basically that with your age and your BMI.
Obviously,
Always.
because that counts for everything.
Always. So like your BMI comes into everything as we know. And that literally gives you your success rate on their score. And they all and well you don't get
it
if
your BMI's too high. Well,
a lot of unless you're in
with some,
the like it'll be the same as the NHS.
Yeah,
Like
under 30, yeah.
I think it's 19 to 29 at the
Yeah,
time.
you've got to be under 30,
ours was when we had.
That's what I was. Not that I've gone. I know other people that have gone down the IVF route, and I know that the BMI was a big thing.
Yeah,
and
it just baffles me though, because being like with my situation, it's different from IVF. Obviously, when I went for my consultant meeting, whenever it was, and that was their last comment to me. Oh yeah, your BMI was a bit high. And like, so is that what's caused my waters to break? Oh no, it has no problem with getting pregnant, carrying a pregnancy.
No,
it just causes midwives more difficult to delivering your baby. Yeah. Well,
and
sorry, but
I think literally with the IVF, because they are private clinics.
Yeah.
They all work on success rates, and I
Yeah.
think on average, because everything's obviously on average.
Yeah.
People with a higher BMI don't have as good a
Well,
success. They mustn't have as good a success rate as
Well,
people.
that makes total sense because the higher your BMI, in theory, the higher you weigh, the more unhealthy you are probably are. However, that is a static number that actually gives no bearing on how healthy a person is.
No, it's nothing to do with health.
Like I probably have been classed as obese or at least overweight. Actually, no, I think my BMI is still in the obese category. You know, after I've lost like 20 kilos, and I'm probably the lightest I've been for a number of years. I play sport several times a week. They don't take that into consideration. It's only because I'm so short. Actually, that it makes a lot of difference. If I was 4 inches taller, I'd probably actually be in the healthy weight category. But
it's mad. It baffles me.
you know, someone could drink and smoke and. You know, it's like I go to medical appointments and they go, "Do you drink?" And I go, "No," and they don't believe me. Have you ever smoked? No. You know, but because of my BMI, they look at me as an unhealthy person, which is insane.
Yeah, I think I
get it though. I get it.
Speaking to other people in sort of like with having infertility problems, like I know, and this probably sounds really harsh, and I don't mean it in a judging or a harsh way, but I know I'm not the only one that's felt these things. But you can't help yourself when you go out and about, like in my position of, I guess I've never, luckily I feel like lucky that I've never struggled with my weight. Like I've never struggled with my weight. I've always been in the BMI range. I've never had a problem with that sort of stuff. And then obviously going through infertility, and I do not mean this in a judging or horrible way.
Just say it.
It always felt like awful and hard when you then go out and you see women that are very overweight, smoking, drinking,
unhealthy.
I've obviously had. I'm not saying actually, obviously, because I don't know their backstory. They might have had problems having their children.
Yeah.
But from literally like I know better than to assume that because someone sat there with like potentially 4 kids.
Well, it's perception they're not is reality.
Exactly, they're not going to have had a problem. But like it does feel frustrating.
Yeah, when you're like, healthy, you look after yourself. Yeah.
How have you not had any? Like, not saying that they haven't, but like. How does it look like you've not had any problems having kids when you don't look at you obviously don't look after yourself and like, and I'm not saying there's no other medical conditions. Like I probably just sound like I'm like
but that's where
but when you're told that BMI matters for IVF and for carrying a baby,
exactly, and
all
like
that.
and like I have other I know you have friends that have been in my position, and like I've got experience and friends with people that are obviously having fertility problems, and one of my friends is over the BMI and she's a bit like usually she's quite short, so like that's going against
you're buggered. If you're short, you're buggered.
But it's like
your BMI is such a challenge,
and she's trying trying to like lose weight to get into the
healthy.
No, but the thing is, the fact that it actually is insane, and this is why we've done an episode on it, because it's actually very frustrating, because yes, am I overweight? Yes, I am. Am I unhealthy? No. For me to get into the healthy BMI range, as in healthy, as in under the 25, my BMI is like 31, 32, and bear in mind, when I'm at my heaviest, I was nearly at 38, 39. So I was nearly categorised as morbidly obese because I was so short. For me to get into the healthy category, not even under the underweight, I mean overweight category, I'd have to lose about 4 stone.
Yeah.
4 stone.
I think this is like a similar, similar.
And then they'll look at you and go, "Oh, you're too skinny to carry on." And I think I've seen that. Honestly, I've seen that in A&E. I've seen. When I was a nurse, I've seen a gynaecologist go into a woman's room that's just suffering a miscarriage, looked at her, "You've met this doctor before, you'll know who I mean," and she goes, you're too skinny to carry a baby. There's a problem. Too skinny. You know exactly who it is. And I was like, oh my God, please let this ground swallow me, because this poor woman and her husband I've just been told that they're losing the baby, and you've just said it's because you're too skinny.
That's insane.
Like, no, that's not the reason why.
And that go back to education of not just medical professionals, but
everybody. You can't be too skinny, you can't be too fat, you can't.
But like that is like what the IVF clinic, like, as much as we don't agree with the BMI thing, like it's all done on success.
Like, I know there's got to be a point. There has got to be a point. Yeah. But BMI cannot be a sole factor. Like, that's what sort of irritates me in terms of, say, if I had fertility trouble, I wouldn't be able to get IVF because of my BMI, and my sole focus would have to be losing weight. Yeah. When, like you say, every other factor in my life is I actually am fairly healthy. Like, in comparison, like, you could have somebody with a normal BMI that takes drugs, that drinks every single day, that smokes 50 a day, and that's where my frustration comes for those women that do look after themselves, but they're dictated by a BMI scale. I know there's got to be a certain point, but I think other factors should override that. You know, you can get Olympians that are they going to turn down an Olympic athlete?
No, if they're BMI.
This is what I mean.
That is like literally for the IVF clinics. It is literally on BMI. That is their gauge. Like if you go in, the first thing they do, and like if you've gone in through your doctor, your doctor's already done those checks, and they wouldn't even refer.
You wouldn't even get to consultation stage.
I've heard a couple of people from like the infertility community sort of say that they have gone in through the private door. I mean, every IVF clinic is private. Like I don't know if everybody knows that, but for the sake of people that have no idea, so every IVF clinic is private. You just get a level of NHS funding. So depending on what trust you live in and where you live geographically, some trusts fund one cycle, and that one cycle would be one egg collection and your transfers that go with that.
So once you run out of embryos, that cycle is over.
From what I understand, but then some other trusts would fund 2 or 3. So it's like a geographical lottery as well. It's a postcode lottery. Yeah, that's the term I was looking for. But so every IVF clinic is private. You just then get a level of funding that the NHS would give you. So private, they can afford to be that picky because. It is all done on success rates, and then I don't remember, we did look into it a little bit, but I definitely didn't pick the clinic we went to because of its success rates, because they're all much of a muchness. Like we looked at, after we sort of started with our clinic, we looked at a few success rates just out of interest, I think, and they are all pretty much of a muchness, I think. I think obviously there's a little bit a variation, but
that could be say geographical area in terms
exactly
of,
that's how they standardise it for your criteria to meet for IVF anyway. I've completely forgotten.
So
we're on BMI, don't worry.
So we'll go off bloody BMI because it'll take over the whole show. Back to where we were with you, we were doing egg collection. So I was going to ask you, how do they decide for whether you're going to have fresh or frozen?
So after your egg collection, so before you go for your egg collection whether you're going to have a frozen or fresh transfer. They decide it on your scans when they're monitoring the follicle growth. So personally, I was on a frozen transfer because I had so many follicles. I had so many follicles that would look like were developing and look like they were getting to a good size. If you have so many, I don't think there's a specific number, but I was then at risk of OHSS, which is over hyperstimulation syndrome. So if they then decided to do a fresh transfer for me, because my body was already really stimulated because it's got so many follicles that have reacted, which is great. This is where the mental battle is. So for me, it was brilliant because we got 18 eggs because loads of my follicles had reacted to the stimulation medication, amazing. But because then that put me at risk of hyperstimulation. So then if I'd have had a fresh transfer from the day of my collection, I'd have been given more drugs. So more progesterone, from that point, more progesterone, more drugs to basically then make your lining nice and thick and plump and ideal for your transfer. It puts you at massive risk of basically people end up in hospital with OHSS because their body just gets so overstimulated that it can make you really poorly, really bad abdominal pain. There's quite a big list of obviously side effects from it. And it would go against
the success rate of
so
that transfer.
If you then end up in hospital and overstimulated and poorly, you're not going to have a very successful transfer, and potentially won't get to the point of a transfer because you'd be too poorly beforehand. So they make the call on your second or third scan. I
So
think ours
you
was
knew
our
going
third.
in for your egg collection.
We knew going into our egg
yeah.
collection that I wouldn't be going back because it's normally 5 days later. I think that's pretty standard that it's 5 days. I'm sure there'll be people that have had it slightly different.
Yeah.
But I think it's quite standard that 5 days after your egg collection, if you're having a fresh transfer, you would go back in and have an embryo. Because they used to... There's a lot of debate on and a lot of different experience with whether they put one embryo in or two. So if you've got, again, this is just my understanding and sort of, not experience, but my understanding of it. So if you've got like a good grade of eggs and they feel like they would freeze well, they would only put one in now. Okay. So they would only do one embryo. So your chances of having twins through IVF
I just laugh now.
That's a surprise.
Like
when she sat here
now,
with twins.
Like go back even like 10 years, I think it was quite common practice to put two in. Might be even like sooner than 10 years. But now, if they don't, basically if they feel like they've got eggs that they can freeze, my understanding is that they don't put two in. If you've got, basically you've had an egg collection and you've got 2 eggs, and they don't feel like they would freeze and thaw and survive that process,
they
might as well put 2 in. Like that's the sort of...
You can look at, like you said, it might not even be 10 years ago, but how science progresses so quickly, and technology and the information they have available at them, they to the best of their ability now can determine, like say, success rates as much as possible.
And I think a lot of it is because of the risk that goes along with multiple pregnancies. They don't like to do it. That isn't what's like the recommended practice anymore. Yeah. Again, all from my understanding, someone might have different view, different experience, might be able to give me like different actual facts on it. Yeah. But that's like from my understanding. So
frozen.
All of our embryos were frozen. So then mentally, that was really difficult because yes, it was brilliant that I'd got like 11 embryos frozen, like waiting, like we've literally got a football team in the freezer to go at, like absolutely amazing. But you're back to the waiting game. Yeah. And all I can think of is I'd have been having my transfer today, like I could be pregnant because on the day of your not on the day of your transfer. So if you had a fresh transfer, you'd have your transfer on day 2, and then you have the 2-week wait, which everybody has with their period. You're pregnant until proven
otherwise, aren't you? As soon as you have that transfer.
So you are, that's the term, pregnant until proven innocent, and you have your 2-week wait. So you are told to wait 2 weeks before taking a pregnancy test.
She wasn't going to wait.
Well, no, I didn't actually go that far, which we'll get to, but most of the people I've spoken to have said they didn't wait 2 weeks. They've waited like 10 days.
Though,
because, you know yourself, how many days after, I don't know if you did or not, when did you take a pregnancy test?
For,
how long after your expected period did you take a pregnancy test? Or did you take it before? Hours. Or did you take it before your expected pregnancy period date?
No, so obviously, so I'd had the miscarriage, and then 8 weeks later I found out I was pregnant with Bonnie. I shouldn't admit this, I suppose. I was on an event, and I was away for 3 or 4 days, and I was due to, I remember it vividly, I was due to come on the Wednesday, and I got back Wednesday night from my event. And I got completely rat-arsed as well on the Monday or Tuesday night. And because I am so regular, as in, literally, it varies. It's either day 28, day 29. There's no varying. It's either one of those 2 days in my cycle, day 28, 29. And I was due on, I think the Wednesday was day 29. Yeah. So I was like, if I'd not come on by the end of today, I know I'm pregnant.
If you were at home, would you have taken a pregnancy test sooner?
No.
Right. So where I'm going with this is you're told to wait 2 weeks, but if you know that you've had a fertilised embryo,
yeah,
you would be getting
I would have
positive pregnancy test
the
Day one.
7, well, no, but like 7 to 10 days.
I would have taken one, in that respect,
know,
I would have taken one
earlier. So I would love to know how many women that have had
waited
transfer,
2 weeks.
how long they actually wait. I know from talking to like a community that I'm involved with.
I think it's more of a
barely anybody waits for 2 weeks.
Or is it because I think maybe what they can say is that at least that's a definitive answer at 2 weeks.
If you've not had a positive pregnancy test by 2 weeks, it's not positive.
It's not,
But I think they tell you to wait for 2 weeks because if you could potentially take one at like
7
days, it could be negative.
It could be negative, but you might still show pregnant until 2. That's what they say.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid disappointment,
most
aren't they?
People don't wait.
Yeah.
But that's the process with a fresh transfer. So you have your transfer on 5 days, the 5th day after your egg collection, and then you have your 2 week wait period.
Yeah.
For a frozen transfer, it's like you have to then wait for your next period to come.
Yes.
So did you continue medications?
No.
So
from after your egg collection, you stop everything. I did have to go, because I was at risk of the OHSS, they gave me a blood thinner and a different medication to basically calm everything down. But that's, again, I think that's very specific to
how you reacted.
But I think, I don't know, but I think most times when you have a frozen transfer, it's because you're at risk of OHSS.
Okay.
I don't know of any other... Like, I'm sure there will be some. Again, every regime is different. It might be
I think only because I've got knowledge of another friend that wasn't the case with her. It's because she had another specific issue.
Yeah, I guess
that they were waiting to resolve.
Yeah, if you had a condition that you know that there's then a problem with your build-up of your lining, then I assume that they would then do a frozen and then do a fresh transfer later to make sure you've got like
optimum.
That is part of the medications for a fresh transfer. Well, for any transfer, they thicken your lining.
So post-egg, for a fresh transfer, post-egg collection, you would then go straight into another drug regime of progesterone and stimulants to build your lining rather than obviously build your over, like your
makes
follicles.
sense. Yeah.
So that was like really hard again. That was probably after being sort of go for a couple of months. I definitely then took like a bit of a dip at that point, even though it was really positive and I knew that it was really positive. It's just like the waiting again, like that's what I mean, like the whole process is just a wait after wait after wait of it all. So we were then just waiting for our cycle to return, which I knew there could be, because you have to like wait for your bleed. So after your egg collection, you pretty much bleed like straight away. It's not like I did have these straight away.
What, like from the procedure of collecting the eggs causes
just because
trauma?
like it's like, if you think about it, it's like a normal like a normal period. So you then have to wait for your normal bleed, like your normal like post collection bleed, and then your next cycle you would be booked in for your so you then have to basically wait like a full cycle after. So your bleed after your collection isn't classed as like a normal period. So you then have to wait for another cycle. And in our story, so we never got to our frozen transfer. So I had all the eggs collection, and then it's only because, and like there's a lot of conflicting advice on this as well, and we only ended up being in the situation we did because we had a consultant appointment. So I had a consultant appointment on the 23rd of December. So I was still waiting, like in this period. So I'd had my post-collection bleed and I was waiting for my next period. So waiting and waiting and waiting. And literally as soon as your period comes, you have to like ring the clinic and they then literally book you in.
Yeah.
But they close over Christmas. So if you're like, timings wise, it would have never fallen over their shutdown over Christmas for us.
Yeah.
But I can imagine like if I'd have like started bleeding on like the 14th of December, for example, I'd have had to have waited another cycle because of the shutdown over the Christmas period. But we had a consultant appointment on the 23rd of December to check that everything had calmed down. So you basically have a consultant appointment to check that everything's fine for your transfer when your period comes.
Yeah.
And we asked on that consultant appointment, basically, do we need to be using contraception? Because there's a lot of conflicting advice that if you are on a frozen transfer, between your egg collection and your transfer, basically, you should be using contraception. And it's only because we specifically asked, like, do we? And our consultant was like, why would you? Like, that is literally the words that he said, like, why would you? Like, as long as it's not in between, like, you're bleeding, you're like, like your post-collection bleed, like, why would you? It's basically classed as a normal period. And we actually conceived on that period with Milo. So Milo isn't, and that's probably the longest way around to get to this point, but Milo isn't technically an IVF baby, but he will always be my IVF baby. Because without, like, I know I had a miscarriage then when I did ovulate, but in our whole fertility journey, I had ovulated very little. Like, the only time then that we'd ever got caught out was then a loss. So for me, without all of those, like, the stimulation medication to get our eggs collected, I would not have been pregnant with Milo. And I know people might disagree and think that it's a bit strange that I class him as my IVF baby when he's not an IVF baby, but for me, he is a result of the IVF treatment that we went through. Because I honestly believe that without all those stimulation medication and without all that stimulation in my ovaries, I would not have just randomly ovulated the next month.
So were you pregnant at that consultation?
Well, on that consultation, that's the reason why 17mm sticks in my head. Not that it crossed our minds for a second, but we only remember it looking at, like, back in retrospect. When we went for that consultation appointment on the 23rd of December, I had one follicle that was showing at about, like, 16mm.
And Milo.
That's my, like, for me, like, that's Milo. But we didn't for 1 second think, like, we're gonna ovulate with that. Like, we best get home and get on it. So,
well, yeah, you had a great Christmas. But
for like timings wise,
do you know when the
timings wise it works out for Milo
with his, like, due date and everything?
So that follicle was Milo.
That's
on that
insane.
Scan. But
really.
We've only ever, like, thought about that, like,
post
in retrospect. But it's only, that's what I say, it's only because we asked the question at that consultant appointment.
But had you already been having unprotected sex?
No, I don't think so, because I'd had a friend that had, like, recently gone through it.
Yeah.
And she'd said that she'd had a frozen transfer.
Yeah.
Or, like, the year before, and she'd said about
be careful.
Be careful, because her consultant had apparently told them that they must use contraception. So it was only because we, like, blatantly asked that question and been told no. And I can tell you, like, I never ever thought, like, that Christmas between our egg collection and, like, finding out that we were pregnant, but for me, in my head, over Christmas, waiting for...
When did you find out you were pregnant?
On the 7th of January.
Oh.
Like, that was the worst Christmas.
Yeah. But little did you know you were
pregnant. Little did I know, well, I was conceiving, potentially. Like, that
you were getting busy.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I obviously did at one point.
That's the funny thing. Like, I think when you've been through it, like, you think you'd know.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe it was a Christmas Day conception.
Well, maybe. But yeah, it was not, like, I think quite a few people have said in thinking, like, oh, like, it must have been more chill sort of Christmas.
Absolutely
it was
not.
the worst Christmas, because my sister had announced she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And obviously we were, like, dying to be in that position. and a certain lady in this room would also, and which obviously, again, like going back to it, I could not have been happier for you both. But it was honest. I know it sounds awful, but it wasn't a good Christmas. It was like, considering we were should have been in, or what felt like we should have been in a really positive place.
I'm just trying to think about like overlapping, because you overlap with us, but it doesn't.
No.
When you actually do look at it, we were all pregnant at the same time. All of us.
I must have just told you that I was pregnant.
You told me on I found out you and Ruth were pregnant on the same day.
Did
Christmas
I?
Eve. You did it on Christmas Eve.
No.
We'd seen you on the
Sophie
Monday.
And Taryn. And I just remember
it was the 20th. It was the 20th of December.
Oh, bless her, look at her.
I should remember.
No, but I don't. Obviously, I don't
know why you couldn't have made it. Whether it was like a work thing, or I don't know. But I remember it was me, you, and Taryn had gone for like Christmas.
Yeah,
because we always do Christmas meal, don't we?
Don't forget, I was heavily pregnant at this point.
Yes, we'll let you off at that point. But we went, and
you were upset. Like,
I was an absolute nervous wreck, and I remember sitting there.
I know.
Like you know, like how you announced that you're pregnancy of the twins to me and Jodie, and we were like, "Fuck's sake, Sophie, how long did you wait so long?" I remember sitting in that restaurant. I got there early because I'm like, right, I have to tell Sophie because I felt so guilty. No, I know, but it's you then know how that guilt feels because of later on. And I remember thinking like, didn't listen to a word of what you and Taryn told me until you know, like you go around like, how are you and how's Sophie
like
doing?
Come to me.
Yeah, and I was like, well, just ask me already. Like, for God's sake. And then I just remember saying, I need to tell you something, and then I just had to tell you because it was just like absolutely consuming me to tell you that I was pregnant, and I just remember bursting into tears.
I think we were both in.
Yeah, we were.
But like, it is really difficult. I do feel awful sat here saying like it was an awful Christmas. You told me you were pregnant.
No,
it isn't like that. Like,
but like
I was over the moon for you and over the moon for my sister.
Yeah.
But it was just like what the hell?
Well, you were knee deep in it on the other side.
Like we're still waiting. Like we're waiting and wait, and then very much in the mindset of like, we're waiting for a transfer. That doesn't mean I'm going to have a baby.
No,
we were very much in the mindset of like, this might, like, IVF isn't a guaranteed success as we've spoken about. Like, it's just more waiting, and like, it's never a success. And then I think my sister was definitely, obviously the hardest.
Yeah.
And she felt exactly the same as you did.
It's all this guilt that we keep talking about flying around.
It's awful. It's awful. And like, it sounds like I feel then awful and felt awful, like I've said already, and like I said to you at the time. It felt awful to feel sad, because it's not sad. Like, you're growing your family, and my sister was starting their family.
Yeah.
But so close, because we ended up pregnant.
Well, you were pregnant when you came to the hospital to see me.
I was.
And you didn't tell me, obviously, at that point, but I would have been,
Well, you said, like, when I finally told you here, because I remember it was when I'd first come to see Bonnie
I can't
here.
remember,
and I was in two minds whether to tell you here, because I was like, you're going through so much. Like, I did not feel right.
You should have told me at the hospital.
But it did not feel right for me to walk in with like the trauma and everything you were going for. Be like, by the way, I'm pregnant.
Did you tell Jodie before we were at your house and you told it to?
No, because I think it was like literally the same week. It was like literally
then we had
like the
a
same
catch
week.
up at your. It's always at your house. We always announce pregnancies. We had a catch up on the island at your house. And like Dan was like hovering around us, because Dan always has like
you were, because don't forget we were in hospital for a while.
I'm sure it was like the same week, but yeah, you and Taryn came to me because I think you might have still been in hospital or like literally just come home. Like you weren't coming for girly night.
No.
But yeah, like I remember telling like you two, and then obviously when I came. But I still wasn't sure whether to tell you when I came here.
Like say over the moon again.
You both did when I told you this time.
Well, yeah, but you just, like you say, you're overwhelmed with emotion, and you're just like, you know, when you love somebody and you love your friends and you just want the absolute best for them, and you know there might be other emotions that are attached to that as well. But again, it doesn't make you any less happy.
Yeah.
You know, and It's like, it's just going through like announcing. I'm not going to say names at all because I don't know who listens to this. I remember when I was pregnant with Bonnie.
Yeah.
And like I felt like my like announcement, you weren't there, was ruined a little bit. Do you remember what I'm referring to?
I've got terrible memory, Jodie, but let me
Be careful what you say if you do remember.
Well, no, I'll have to think.
And someone commented to me, "Oh, why are you not drinking?" Like that. And
I remember.
Totally ruined like the pregnancy.
It was at a certain occasion, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm.
And
I wasn't.
And I thought you weren't there because I think you were struggling at this point, quite bad with your mental health, so you didn't come to this particular occasion. And I remember thinking...
Oh, I do remember.
I remember thinking, because you knew.
I'm not going to ask you.
No. So I remember thinking, when you put the comparison, I thought, would that person have said the same thing to you? Knowing that you, one, had gone through a miscarriage and fertility, but then I thought, I've only just gone through a miscarriage, and it was completely... So, like, a pregnancy announcement, my pregnancy announcement was properly tinged with something else.
Yes, something else.
And,
like... That's sad.
Yeah, so I always recall that.
You were put on the spot. You weren't ready to say that, I don't think.
No, I don't think I was.
No, because did I know before this event, or did...
Maybe you had an inkling. I think you had an inkling.
I think I had an idea, because I think you were thinking whether to come or not.
Yes.
And then you did come.
Yeah.
To the event. Yeah. And then I do remember. Now you've said I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think it's like when you just go back to pregnancy, that's always what I remember about mine. Yeah. And it makes me sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's again I digress. But you're saying about like you say pregnancy announcements,
whether it's yours or
somebody else's, there's always mixtures of emotions attached to them.
Yeah.
And also the other way. Because I remember, like, obviously we've spoken about this before, we are very close, we've always been very close. When Sophie then announced that she was pregnant, we were like, oh, maternity buddies, like we're going to be on maternity together, because obviously I was pregnant with Luna at the time.
Yeah.
Then when we lost Luna,
I
struggled to tell you that I'd lost Luna.
Yeah.
Because I think people think, like, obviously I don't mean that you think, but I think society, community in general thinks that, like, baby death is contagious.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I'd hate to put the stress, like what we were discussing before, you get to a certain point in your pregnancy, you're like, oh my God, like, well, what if that happens to me? Or, oh, don't go near her, she's lost a baby. Or, don't ask her because she's lost a baby.
Yeah. And
I remember thinking, how am I going to tell Sophie? Because we were so excited to share, like, that moment together. And we're obsessed with going for coffee and cake on my maternity leave with Lila. So that was our maternity plan. That's all me and you were going to do.
Yeah.
And then, to take that, I felt like I'm taking something away from you, even though it wasn't your baby, obviously. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it can be like both ways, like announcing a pregnancy or announcing maybe like a loss or a miscarriage or baby loss or in whatever form. I think it can be like both ways, that it's just... Yeah.
It's like I've recently...
And then, sorry, Joe.
You go on.
I was just going to say, and then telling you...
Yeah.
I was pregnant. Like, I think that might be why I took so long to tell you when I came here. Because I know that you're in a very different place to you, but it's still always going to be raw.
Yeah.
And I think I had a bit of like the opposite to you, because I was like, I know, like, it still must be hard. Like, I think I was aware of that, but like I remember like saying to Dan, I was like, oh, like obviously I'm gonna like need to tell the girls and stuff, and like I think I just remember saying like I hope Nicole's okay, because like, I don't know how you feel, like, and I know like I don't know what your future, like I'm not obviously I'm not asking, but like I don't know what your future intentions are. Like I'm not like I've never put that on you. Like I know you've had from other people and health professionals. Like we don't talk about it that much because it's your decision and your time and whatever decision you make. But I I definitely felt a little bit of like, ooh, about this announcement.
To say, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, don't ever feel like that. They'd be daft. Very excited. Well, she made me cry, actually.
Yeah.
If you don't want to know. I think because we've been so close through, like, although, like Jodie says, you've kept some of it private, like you naturally would, but we've been so close to how the struggles you and Dan have gone to get pregnant and to have Milo to where you are now. It's like, how can you go from not being able to have any children to now being, bam, you're having twins and you've got 3? Like, that is just mad. So, like,
she went from, I'm pregnant, as in, no, you've had Milo at this point, and you basically come over to my house, Nicole's here, and you go from, I'm pregnant, you stand up, you've got this
belted bump.
Like, it's not like just a flat stomach, you've got a bump, and you're like, and there's 2, and you're like, it's like you slapped us, and then slapped us again, and we were like, slaps. What? Yeah, like, it was
absolutely overwhelming.
Going from the struggles that you have to the point you're at now, you wouldn't have put the 2 together.
No.
Did you ever see yourself? Obviously, we've not actually got on to where you are now. So you had Milo, who you call your IVF baby.
Yeah.
Although,
so he's not technically an IVF baby, but he's
an IVF druggy baby.
He's a result of IVF treatment.
Yeah,
for me. Like, he's my IVF baby. Like, he will always be the result of us having going through that, even though we've never got to the next point.
It seems the most likely assumption, though.
That's
like how it's happened.
In my mind, like, no one will convince me otherwise. So that which leads on to my situation now. So we then assumed that we would have, which I think most people would. I'm assuming that with our experience last time, that we assumed we would need to go for a transfer and go back to the clinic. For, like, we've always said we'd love to have baby number 2. And obviously have said since fertility problems that we would be lucky to have baby number. I've never ever taken it for granted that we would have another baby. Like, we felt extremely lucky to have Milo, so to think that we might be lucky enough to have another was always the way that we'd seen it, and just assumed that if we started trying again, we'd always put like a 6-month mark on. So at the beginning of the year, we said, like, ideally we'd like a 2 to 3 year gap. Again, not that we know that you can't plan these things, but ideally, if we were lucky to have a second, in an ideal world, we'd like a 2 to 3 year gap. So we'll start trying when it would be a 2-year gap, thinking that it might be a 3 to 4 year gap by the time we've been into the clinic and gone through potentially 11 eggs that we've got in the freezer. Like, we were really sort of matter of fact, eyes open with it. So then naturally to find out we were pregnant in April was bonkers. So madness. And then we went for an early reassurance scan and got told that there was another one and that we were having twins. So to go from like our struggles with Milo to a complete natural conception, but I just put it down to my dodgy ovaries. So my ovaries have gone from not working at all.
They've basically just been kicked.
They've gone into overdrive.
Yeah, they were just being lazy before, and now they've been stimulated, and now they're...
Yeah, it is something that we've, like, looked, I think Dan more than me. Like, I've just been like,
I'm pregnant. It's fine.
I don't need to look into these things. Like, I'm pregnant again. But I think from what Dan's sort of read up on, it's more common with people that have had fertility problems that then their ovaries do then sort of go from one to the other, and apparently it's more common in not old, because you're classed as an elderly mum at 35, aren't you?
Yeah,
but
geriatric.
In the elderly mum category, which is ridiculous, that's anything over 35, apparently it's more common. But that sort of makes sense with having fertility problems, that then my ovaries are supposed to work in that range rather than well, who knows? Who knows and who cares?
Well, exactly. So did it come complete shock?
Complete shock. It was a complete shock that we found out we were pregnant. As I say, we had our 10-year anniversary at the beginning of April and had an amazing trip to Dubai, and I did a skydive over the Palm, which was absolutely insane. So then to find out I was pregnant like a week after we got back was like, What?
So was that like were you due period? Was it like your 40 days roughly?
Yeah, how
I
did
think
you get
I
it?
was.
What
I
made
think
you
I was
test?
on. I think it was like day 36
You
because
thought
I'd
you'd jump out of
said.
Yeah.
I think when we were away, it was only like week 4, so I would have never had a period
Yeah.
at like 28 days.
Did it even cross your mind when
No.
did you think?
No, absolutely not. No, because we
just.
just assumed like
It's going to take
we'd
ages.
been trying for a few months and it hadn't happened. So I'd already sort of thought like, well, we're only got to wait another
So you
sort
were
of 3
having the
months
time
and
of
then
your
we'll be
life,
going to the
making
clinic.
the most of it.
Yeah, like we
Your
literally
10-year
already
anniversary.
sort of said like we had a family holiday to Ibiza at the end of May, and I'd always said if we get back from Ibiza and it's still not happening by like July, I'll ring the clinic. Like June, July, we'll go back. So you
had a timeline.
It hadn't happened by March,
Yeah.
which isn't very long at all.
No.
But it hadn't happened, so I just assumed like
You were going to the clinic.
we'll wait another
July,
3-4 months and then we'll be going back to the clinic. So a lot easier, like not easy, but a lot easier to deal with this time because we had such like a clear plan. And not that I know a lot of people have infertility struggles with a second, and it's feels as hard as it did with the first, but definitely some pressure off because we've got Milo
and it's sort of like you had a plan.
It was just
you'd done half the process already.
Well, we'd done the harder. Well, I say the hard bit, like half of the hard bit. Like you've done the big bit of the egg collection.
You've done some of the steps already.
Yes.
When you can jump back into
Do it quite quickly.
quickly,
Like the next, that going back to the clinic would have been relatively quick. To go back in for a transfer. That would have been like the quicker part of the process. So never even crossed. Like, we had a really week away without kids. Like great.
Yeah.
Obviously, had like a boozy week celebrating our anniversary. Jumped out of a plane. Great. So finding out a week later we were then pregnant was like mad. But going back to how you test. So I think it had got to like day 36. So it was still like within. But really weirdly, I'd had in the week with Milo. I didn't have. Like I wasn't physically sick with Milo, like, but I had morning sicknesses and just felt
nausea,
and was like I used to heave
a
lot, so I'd be heaving over the toilet without being actually physically sick, and randomly on like the Wednesday or the Thursday or whatever day of the week it was, I'd had that, like I'd felt nauseous and I'd been heaving, and I was like, this is weird, like this is just a tiny few little things, and I'd been knackered, like I'd been absolutely exhausted, but I just put it down to like we'd been away and then back into like the normal routine, obviously back to the routine of having Milo and just parenting. So I just sort of put it down to that, but like so it got to the weekend and I was like what harm is it? Like it's weird that I've been that was definitely the little like, why am I heaving? Like that's not normal. And it was.
Did you do it together? Or did you...
Same sort of thing. Like I went into the bathroom in the morning. Did you know
he was going? You were gonna. Did he know when you got up that morning that you were going to take his pregnancy test?
Yeah. And it was like really special this time because like Milo was involved in it. Like Milo was already like up and in our room. Like he spends the first half an hour or whatever in our room with us. So like he was there with Dan when I came out with like this positive test and. Just different, but it was like I was just like gobsmacked. So then we went for a real early reassurance scan, like we had done now, because I think again with our fertility journey and stuff, there was still always like the first finding out I was pregnant with Milo wasn't this amazing, happy, like really exciting. Like doing that pregnancy test was like obviously it was great, like it was exciting, but half tinged with. Well, what happened last time, just because I've got a positive test doesn't mean that I'm going to get past week 6, week 7, week 8, week 9, like all the way through. Like really anxious with my pregnancy test with Milo, and like we had a early reassurance scan with him, and then quite a few private ones. I don't know how anybody waits till 12 weeks. I don't know. I know you. I think you've always waited. Have you?
No,
you haven't. I don't know how anybody waits 12 weeks.
It's hard.
That is the longest wait ever.
Definitely.
I don't know how anybody does it, personally. Anyway. So yeah, we had a really early reassurance scan, and I thought I was about 7 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when we went in for the scan, and she was scanning like 1, and I was walked normal like last time. Like there's your
baby and your heartbeat.
uterus on the screen. They checked the heartbeat and they checked everything else, and she said that it was more like 6 weeks. And I thought, all right, like okay, that makes sense. But like I thought I was a week further on. And she'd basically finished the scan, and then sort of they go and check your ovaries, don't they, and check everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no fluid or anything else. And she was like, oh, there's another one here, love. Like they are the words that she used. There's another one here, love. Dan nearly fainted because we were like, another what?
Was Milo with you?
No. Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Bet you were like, no.
It's taken us took us a while to
come to terms with that.
I think, and I've said this with a lot, like, obviously, absolutely over the moon. Like, again, the thought of having another one baby was like amazing that we'd caught with naturally with one. So the thought that like my body had done it for 2 was like incredible. It's just like the logistics, and I think a lot, like from talking to a couple of twin mums, like it's made me feel a bit better because I think they had the same thoughts and like initial like
with
jerk
one baby,
reaction.
Going from 1 to 2, never mind going from 1 to 3. Like
it's just like the logistics, like cars,
prams.
Car seats, prams. Like we're all set up for 1, but now we've got to like re-kit ourselves out for like 2
and
at
it's
the
like,
same time.
The human body only has
amazing.
2 hands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've got 3 hands to hold.
Fine.
It will be fine.
It will be fine.
But yeah, absolutely amazing. So yeah, if anyone can take a bit of hope, maybe if you are going through a struggle or you've struggled for a first, if anyone can take like a hope that actually that doesn't mean we're going to go through this again, if that's what you want to do, then that's nice. That would be lovely.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your story. I mean, we've heard it before.
Well, yeah, there's certain bits of that I didn't know.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it's so interesting. And like you say, the science and the magic behind it is just amazing. And, you know, like
every baby's magic. Like,
Yeah.
I've said that from our experience. Like, every baby is a gift.
Absolutely, yeah.
Every baby is magic. No one should, and I don't think many people do, but no one should take a baby for granted or getting pregnant. I think that's one thing that we have really taken away. Like, you do start, like a lot of people do start their journeys, and you shouldn't have to think about these things. Like people that do just get caught out, or on month 1
people
get
have
caught.
Smooth pregnancies, you know, smooth fertility journeys, smooth births, you know, right into parenting. You know, they are the lucky ones because, you know, I wouldn't want to inflict anything on anybody in terms of, like you say, struggles with fertility, loss, trauma.
But from
it's
our
so
group,
difficult.
like you've said, the people that actually have a smooth journey from start to finish are in the minority. But nobody talks about it.
No.
Like, well, this podcast is the example of talking about, like, it's amazing. But nobody's, like, women don't talk about it.
And it's so common.
And infertility is not talked about. It's not, like, not advertised. That's not the right word. I don't know what the right word to use is, but it should be.
It's just so deeply personal, isn't it, that people do struggle to communicate.
And there is communities of support out there for anyone that
because you're involved. Why don't you say what you're involved
I'm involved in through my employer, so obviously it's very employer specific. But I found this group through my employer, like a fertility support group that a couple of women who have gone through infertility problems, and men, so it's for men and for women, had set up, and it was an absolute lifeline for me, because I think talking to someone that's
fully understands,
not your friend, like not that.
Yeah,
like, someone who's completely
once I'd
impartial,
shared, it was like lovely and great talking to you, but someone that's completely impartial, that doesn't know you as a person, but just you can
your
talk about your experience, and getting like tips. Like, I took tips away for my egg collection from a couple of things that one of the girls had said, and just like little things like that. But like, I found this group through work an absolute lifeline to be able to just share and then talk to people that were in exactly the same position, which I hadn't found. Like, none of us had like, as a friendship group had fertility problems. Yes, we'd had our various problems, like you had a miscarriage and whatnot, but no one had had my experience. So actually to go on to, like, of work of all places, and it wasn't like an in-person, it was just like a Teams, like it's a Teams network on chat, and just talk to people that were going through the same, or who had been through the same, or could share hit.
And
like,
we say this,
or...
it's the sympathy versus empathy argument, is that this is why, you know, some of the women that we've connected with, regardless of what their story is, there's certain emotions, certain feelings, certain experiences that we can all relate to. And it's, you know, it is quite difficult being sympathetic because you can't put yourself in that person's position. But when you're empathetic, right? Have I got that the right way around?
Yeah.
Yeah? Right?
Empathetic has been through so
That's where you can connect.
Yeah.
And it's like you with Sands, right? You know, you go to that group and now you're one of the drivers behind, you know, your group, you know, that you're speaking with people that can fully understand what the experience that you've been through, and
and all
or
what you think are the irrational feelings,
and
like
they tell you it's normal,
like all of the guilt feelings, all these things.
It's someone who will
like
validate your feelings.
Exactly. Or just to be able to like vent to that understands and stuff. So this group through work was like an absolute sort of lifeline. And then I've gone back after maternity and sort of I'm one of the leads now of the group and help like run one of the sessions. Like it's just again like a Teams. It's all over Teams.
But it's you sort of giving back.
Well, that's it. And if I can help anybody, even like one person, if I can find or connect one person to somebody else that's having the exact same position, or like the other day someone was talking about it about the you can have genetic testing on your embryos to check that they're basically viable before they get transferred, and one of the ladies was talking about it on the call, and I knew that there was other people in like the network that weren't on the call but had the same experience. So then it was nice then after the call to be able to like connect those two people and like to help.
You never know who's listening as well.
You
know, they might take your story and be able to relate to sort of the struggles that you've had, and also because this episode takes a slightly different tack to some of the other interviews that we've done. You know, I don't want to put this in the wrong way, need to be sensitive, but obviously we've interviewed a lot of women that have lost children and they're still in the very much in the certain stages of grief and loss post losing their children, and they're at a certain point where they're doing things to pull themselves out of, you know, those emotions that they're currently feeling. And your episode hopefully will breed that hope. You know, and show people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's so hard getting to the end of that tunnel. That tunnel can be really, really dark. And I think, you know, your outcome has been so positive and happy but that doesn't negate the struggle that you've had getting to that point.
It's easier now, like I said before we like started, like it's a lot easier to sit and have
these
conversations. Chat sat here like pregnant. I'm pregnant with a second. Like it's a lot like.
And a third.
If I'd have sat here, with 2 and 3, if I'd have sat here pre-pregnancy with Milo, I don't think I'd have got through this, like through talking about it.
But then there's a nice side of, like, you know, you were saying before about that old lady that questioned you why you're not pregnant. There's probably a lot of people that know you, or, you know, you knew at school or whatever, whether anyone that we know listens to this, and we'll never know what you've been through until you've now openly shared.
But I think that is the problem, which is one of like the big pointers like that I would say that I learned like the hard way with probably.
Yeah.
But that is the problem with social media and Google and Dr. Google.
Yeah.
So to begin with, after a few months, I was like got obsessed with the trying to conceive community. Like I don't mean like a specific group, just the trying to conceive advice that's out there on Google is like it is like with everything, but like with new babies or like whatever, it is crazy. And I got to a point where I had to like stop, and it was the same with social media. Like on Mother's Day, like not that it's lovely and wonderful that people share what they share around Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, Easter, on like their
first day of school, everything.
It's their social media, it's their platform, they can share.
But it can be triggering.
It's very triggering.
Yeah.
So I used to stay off, or try my best to stay off my social media on those days, because it just ended up put me in such, and then that impacted on to Dan, because he'd then feel it through me, and that is probably the biggest point of advice that I could give someone that if they are struggling with fertility like I did, is try and protect yourself and don't Google, like just stay off Google, and if it helps, stay off your social media at like triggering points.
I think that's a good tip.
It really helped me when I finally got to the point of actually being able to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because there is so much different advice out there. The American advice conflicts with the UK advice. Absolutely. The NHS is different to the... there's just so much. And then you read people's stories, and a lot of the stuff you read online, you only read good stories. Like people don't put the worst on, which is half the problem. Because then you end up finding yourself reading positive, like
you read all success stories,
all the time, rather than stories
reality.
like yours, like reality, like, which is again social media. Like no one puts bad stuff on social media, do they? Because they don't want to share those things, which is absolutely fine. But it's just about finding a way to like protect you and protect your like mental health. And if you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. If you do want to talk about it, talk about it. But maybe try and find someone completely impartial, like I had my work network. Like if you can then find someone or something, or even if it is your best friend that just is happy to just listen to everything, don't need to comment, like doesn't always need a comment, just to listen. But just do what feel like you protects you. That's probably my biggest piece. And there is always hope, and people mean the best, even though I know how difficult it is when you talk to people and they want to say like, oh, just relax and it'll just relax and it will happen, is what everybody wants to default to say, because they're nice, like it's from the good of their own heart, because they're trying to help you and they're trying to cheer you up. But it is the worst thing to hear when you are suffering with, for me it was the worst thing to hear. But it's really difficult because then people are just trying to be nice, like we've said, we've touched on this before, haven't we, in the call, but like people are just trying to do what they think is right and to help you. But actually sometimes it's, you just need someone to listen and not say anything, and give you a hug, and like that's it.
That's it.
You don't need the just,
you don't need the answers.
Just relax and it will happen. Like no, there's a fertility problem here. If I just relax and it'll happen, is not going to happen. Like, it's not a thing.
I could be so laid back and it still might happen.
Yeah.
But just protect you. Find a way, find a network, find your own way of getting through it.
It's what we've said, find an outlet, whatever that may be. You know, we've just done in episode 19. Episode 19.
You're looking at me like I'm meant to know.
I don't know why I'm looking at you like, you know. And we did like a mental health episode. So if you've not listened to episode 19 and you're looking for sort of options on where to go to help with your mental health. That's what we've covered in that episode, where whether it's your doctor, whether it's your therapist, whether it's medication, whether it's a community group, anything.
Yeah.
You know, starting a podcast, whatever, speaking to a friend, we've covered all of those sort of elements in that
book, mindfulness. I started like a yoga class.
Yeah. Exercise is such a good relief, you know. And when you were talking about escapism earlier, saying, you know, just going somewhere where people don't know what you've sort of been through or whatever, that's what I found in sport. Yeah. Like I've got my now sport group that don't really know. They don't know
the ins and outs.
No, they don't know the ins and outs of what I went through, or you know, and they don't know my struggles with mental health. They don't know, you know, all of the series of events that have gone along with it. I go to that group and it's like I'm somebody else because I don't have to talk about anything in my real life.
And nobody knows, so they're not
like, asking.
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, you like there's friendships in that group that, you know, there might be a particular person that knows a little bit more, but on a day-to-day basis, you know, there's 50 people in that sports group that just don't know. That's my escapism, and it is quite freeing to not be in that mindset and stuff at that point.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like I know, like a lot of people take up running for mental health, don't they?
Well, we've had Claire took up running, didn't she?
Yeah, did, yeah.
I did listen to that one.
Yeah, Claire and Max, and Jensen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we've had some lovely guests, and I think, like you say, I think this episode has taken like a completely different tact. Yeah. Still in the theme of the podcast, but it's probably going to give a new angle to, you know, some of the listeners that maybe, because we haven't touched on infertility before, and I think that'll be really helpful, and especially with like the science behind it, that's definitely things that I didn't know. Being your friend and sort of not going through it with you, but alongside it, that you've divulged certain things, there's still things that I didn't know about that.
I think that's what I find fascinating about the group at work as well. Like,
it's always, you've been through it.
We've been through it, and our experience and what sort of treatment plan we had is just completely different to like most of other people. Like everyone's regime, like some people talk about different things, and I'm like, I've never even heard of that. Like I feel like I've quite well educated on some of it, like a lot of it now, but actually like
it just shows that everybody's journey is so different.
And different situations and like causes. Like there's so many different causes of infertility that again, like nobody knows, nobody talks about. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I don't know what your opinion is that we've not really touched on. I know we've spoken a lot about your fertility journey and your pregnancies and things, but given that we're nearly like 3 hours in, so it will definitely be a two-parter. We've not actually touched on
like... I've spoken about it for 3 hours.
No, 2 hours,
I thought we'd done it about half an hour.
No. Yeah, so I think we should get Sophie back for more of a parenting episode where we actually talk about... Because I know for a fact... And I say this all the time. I use you as my example. You know what I'm going to say?
It's like super mum.
I am not a super mum.
Given the struggles that you went through, and then you got Milo, which is fantastic. I know that you have struggled to complain about parenting or anything that you've struggled with. You're not an open book. We've established that right from the very beginning, that, you know, with your struggles, you know, I always felt like you don't want to burden other people with what you've got going on. I think that's been magnified since you've had Milo, that if you've got something, you're not as bad now as you used to be, that I always felt that you thought, well, I'm so grateful for this child that I have no right to complain about how hard this is or that is, or, you know, I'm struggling with this or that. So I think we need to bring you back for a part 3 on parenting.
Post-infertility.
but it ties in with the emotions of, guilt and conflict in terms of, you know, I'm struggling here, but I have no right to complain, which is absolutely false.
Yeah.
But maybe we bring you back and we talk about those emotions and the certain parenting elements that you have found difficult, and then a little bit more about your pregnancy now, how you see the future, and then part 4 when she's got
The twins. We'll be entertaining the twins when she's talking.
like Dan, you need to be like available for these 3 babies while Sophie podcasts. But no, thank you.
Well, now we've got her once, then I think. How amazing did she do? Like, she
so
won't admit
amazing.
it to everyone. She was so nervous about doing this.
We've been doing for like 3 hours. I know I've not been doing it for 3 hours.
Like you said, we're just your friends. So just sitting here and like chatting. Like,
how have you found it?
It's been really good. It's been nice. I think
maybe she could be a feature guest.
Oh,
like say periodically. So through your journey, like, you know, we need to talk about, like, say, more parenting before the twins arrive, and then, like, say, when you've settled and the twins are here, and, you know, you're balancing then life as a new mum of 3 rather than a mum of 1. You know, we can talk about those challenges and, you know, and those ups and downs and things. So she might be sort of a regular guest. What do you reckon?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing. Yes. Oh, slog off because I'm busting for a week.
Yeah, I think we all are. And she's got 2.
She's not wet herself, I know.
Probably not.
But so watch this space. Sophie may be returning. But as always, you know, if you do want to get in touch, you do have a story to share, or you just want some support, you can contact us on Instagram. You can DM us at hello@looktothemoon.podcast. That's the email address, actually. hello@looktothemoonpodcast.com is the email address, or you can DM on Instagram, which is looktothemoonpodcast. So, and we are on TikTok now, which I'm still trying to learn. So if you want to like, share, subscribe, that would be a great help for us as well, sort of getting the word out. So thank you for joining us, and check us out in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.